Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, and welcome back to today's Daf Hayemi Maseches KEREISOS Daf Chaf Vav. We are holding on Chaf Hayom base, 4 lines from the bottom. Back to the Mishnah, where we learned that difference between the chiyuv to bring an asham tali, where if you experience Yom Kippur in the interim, you're absolved. Yom Kippur acts like a substitute and addresses the asham tali responsibility and absolves you. Whereas when it comes to a regular chatos or an ordinary asham vadai, not out of uncertainty, but a definite vadai asham, in that case, if you're chayiv the korban, although when you experience Yom Kippur, you do attain a high level of purity and a degree of kapara, but it doesn't really complete the kapara. You still have that outstanding obligation to bring the chatas and the asham. So again, in terms of an asham tali, Yom Kippur exempts you. In terms of chatas or asham vadai, it's still outstanding even past Yom Kippur. And the question is, how do we know that? So yesterday we had a whole long discussion which provided sourcing for the first part, that when you are chayiv a chatas and an asham vadai, even if it's past Yom Kippur, you still have to bring it. Now that source was sort of challenged. It was presented by Abaye, Rav Dimi. It was challenged and resolved. Now let's move on to the second point. How do we know that if you're chayiv an asham tali and you're through Yom Kippur, it absolves you? They will provide a source for that, which actually can also be a source for the first halacha, in lieu of the sources of yesterday, which were challenged. How do we know that one who is chayiv to bring asham tali, Yom Kippur will take care of it? Amar b'laza amakro. Mikoy chatoy seichem ifnei Hashem titaru. Yom Kippur, you attain purity. Ifnei Hashem titaru. And we learn, it only addresses things that are lifnei Hashem, exclusively in the realm of Hashem, so to speak. So if it's a sin that only Hashem knows about, but you're unsure, it's a suffix, that Yom Kippurim is machaper. Amar av tachlif, avod Rav Huna, mishmei Rav. Well, if that's the case, the same pasuk can provide a dual source, also a source for the other question. Kadmaisa, the first point that we discussed, a regular chatas, a regular asham. Yom Kippur does not absolve you of that. That can be learned from this pasuk as well. Only those that are lifnei Hashem, exclusively lifnei Hashem, those are absolved, meaning the asham tali. But we infer, but if it's something that's known to man as well, an area that you know of, a chet that you have an idea about, which trigger the chiyuv chatas or asham vadai, in that case, Yom Kippur does not absolve him. Kadmaisa nami lo teisi. You don't have to go resolve it from the other source. L'mifshatei. We turn to the next Talmud. Loimid Rav Dimi, Loimid Abaye, from those from the source of Rav Dimi and Abaye, which Rashi says were somewhat challenged in the previous discussion. Here's a straightforward source of both halachos, all in one. Elameha, it's all from this point. Only chatasecha v'nei Hashem, something which is unknown to man but only known to Hashem, can be addressed by Yom Kippur. But otherwise, something known to man is not absolved. That Yom Kippur machaper umina, and we can infer from there. On the flip side, if it's something revealed, something known, chet shein makar bo el hamokim, who Yom Kippur machaper aval the yad above, you know about it, machaper. The obligation is still standing. A fellow who committed an infraction which triggers malchus. He's already chayiv the malchus, and now he's through Yom Kippur. She'avar alei Yom Kippur. He's still chayiv even after Yom Kippur. Pshita. Well, of course, why not? Why is it different than the mechayev chatois v'ashamis v'adoyin that we just concluded? We'll still have to bring it after Yom Kippur. There's no different. There's room to think. I understand why Yom Kippur cannot absolve him of the obligation to buy and bring a chatas and asham. That's a monetary obligation. And Rashi says, Yom Kippur does not address monetary issues. It can absolve the person, it can be mechaper on the person, but if you have an outstanding monetary obligation, such as to sponsor a chatas for Asham, that's separate from the actual person, and that's still standing. But here by Malkus, which is on the person himself, to Guhu, perhaps that can be addressed by Yom Kippur. Emaloi. Kamash, when the point is yes, he's still chayiv even after Yom Kippur. As the Gemara Vahanan Tanam, we have a Mishnah, Mesech HaShavuos, which seems to say Yom Kippur covers this as well. Hoida v'loi hoida. He knows about it, he doesn't know about it. Asay v'lois asay. So even a lois asay becomes absolved and atoned for by Yom Kippur. The answer is like this. Depends how far developed it is. Hada Ashrabay. We're speaking that he was warned by the Edom. Don't do this. You'll get Malkus. In that case, since he's Chayiv Malkus, Yom Kippur will not take care of it. Hada Ashrabay. That mission is speaking that he wasn't warned. He's not really Chayiv Malkus. So simply because of being over Eloisa say that Yom Kippur can take care of. El Miyata, says the Gemara. So if that's the case, Yom Kippur Purim addresses uncertainties, things which only Hashem knows. Here comes a long string of examples. For instance, Safek Yoledis, a woman who's not sure if she had a halachically, established birth. So it's a Safek, whether it's considered a form of a v'la. In this case, we know she has to bring a chatas ha'oif, a special chatas ha'oif, on account of that Safek. Suppose it's past Yom Kippur. Perhaps she's done with it, just like it's pointed from Hashem Tali here as well. Only Hashem knows, so Yom Kippur can address it. Safek Yoledis. She'avar alei Yom Kippur, lo taisi. She wouldn't have to bring the chatas ha'oif any longer. The ha'kippur alei Yom Kippurim. Why? Because once again, it's something which only Hashem is aware of. The chet she'im makar b'makamu. Amar Vayish, the answer is l'chol chatoisam. The pasuk speaks about Yom Kippur taking care of chatoisam, of Klal Yisrael, the sins. This that she brings, is not to address a sin. It's to help in the purification process of the woman post-birth. Here's for Tumah. Ask the Gemara, Reb Shimon Yochai. According to Shimon Yochai, the Amur says Yoledis Chaytasi, that Yoledis has an element of sin to her. Rashi says because she expresses this oath that she will no longer be engaged in childbearing, which inherently is a false oath. So she has a sentiment, whether she expresses or feels, and therefore she needs kapara for that infraction. Michael Amemus, according to him, it would seem that the carbon that she brings is to address the chet. So once again, if it's on the category of chet, a kapara on a chet, Yom Kippur takes care of if it's only known to Hashem, such as here. The answer is Yoledis Kikon Maisi Carbon. Even if Yoledis has an element of sin, but that's already cleansed, Rashi says, because of the Tsar Leda, difficulty in the actual childbirth. That difficulty clears the record in terms of any element of sin. Rather, the carbon is not to address that. It's meant to allow her to eat carbonis, to open the door to carbonis. Not for atonement. And therefore, Yom Kippur cannot act as a substitute for that. Yom Kippur only takes care of sins. Amar Rashi, Af Anana Metanin. I'll bring a raya from the halacha that we learned. Ha'isha sheyesh aleh chatas ha'oif safek. So Raisa says, clearly, if there is a woman who's unsure whether her birth is halachically, legal, in which case she has to bring a chatas ha'oif al safek, and she experienced Yom Kippur, v'avar lo Yom Kippurim, chayeves lahavi la'ach Yom Kippurim. She has to bring an even after, and the Bryce explains, because it's going to enable her to eat carbonis. So it's not coming to address sin, in which case it's unrelated to Yom Kippur. Next question: a fellow who's unsure whether he had mitzvah status, and he brings the carbonis on account. Maybe. Well, let's say it's past Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur should address it. You shouldn't have to bring it Avar Aleh Yom Kippur because it's past Yom Kippur, and it fits the bill. The Ched Shein Makar boy ela makim, something which only Hashem knows about. Amar Aisha, very similar answer to before. Yom Kippur addresses sins and not issues of tumah. Well, here also there's an element of sin. We know why a mitzvah becomes a mitzvah. There's lashon hara, there's stinginess, right? All those things that we discussed back in Erechin. V'amar Shmuel bar Nachman, Amar B'Yonis, al shiva dvarim negayim bayim. There could be 7 trigger points for nega. So his carbon is really coming to atone. And if it's a suffix, Yom Kippur should address it. Back to the question. So as the Gemara once again, mitzvah ki hamaisi lav l'kapara maisi. Rashi explains, the carbon is not to address the sin. What addresses the sin? What is machaper his chet? The tsar ha-nega, says Rashi. The difficulty that he encounters with the whole nega situation, that will take care of the sin. That will purify him and cleanse his record. Rather, the point of the carbon is elu l'ishtaruyi v'achilas kochimu, to give him access to karbanis. So once again, it's a tumah issue, which Yom Kippur cannot cover. Next question: what about suffix nazir? Elamiata suffix nazir. Sha'avar l'vei Kippur l'maisi korban. A nazir, maybe he became tamei, maybe not. So he has to again go through the process of karbanis just in case. So perhaps after Yom Kippur, if he hadn't done it, he should become pater. Why? Because it fits the picture. The whole Kippur Yom Kippurim. The chet shein makar boy elamakim Amar Aisha. Again, the same teretz. L'chol chatos v'chol lo yachol tumah. Yom Kippur is to address sins, not tumah issues, like the tumah of the nazir. But according to him, the Amar Nazir Chaytu, the Chayte title applies to a Nazir as well because he deprived himself of wine. So there's an element of sin here. There is. Nazir Chaytu, Michael Amimus, then we're stuck again. Why can't Yom Kippur take care of it if it's sin related? Answer the Gemara Kiko Maisi Korban Lava Kapara Maisi. The point of the carbon not to atone. Again to Rashi, who explains that the kapara happened through Nivul Begidul Seir. The needing to grow his hair long. The unkemptness, the discomfort, the embarrassment, that is machaper any element of sin that's inherent. Rather, the carbon is to enable him to start the process again, to allow him to begin the proper Naziris once again. Hence, it's not chet related and therefore unrelated to Yom Kippur. Next question, if that's the case, Yom Kippur addresses uncertainties. Suffix saita. Suffix saita is a reference to any woman who may have deviated. So, status of saita, which inherently is a suffix, right? We don't know what happened. She has to bring a mincha. Well, if it's past Yom Kippur, doesn't know with. She shouldn't have to bring the mincha. The whole Kippur, Allah Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur took care of it. It's something only Hashem knows. The chet shein makar b'elam malkim. Amar Va'isha, so we have 3 terutzim. Va'isha with the same teretz as before. L'chol chatoisam is addressed by Yom Kippur. L'chol tumaisam, not tumah related issues such as the issue of the saita, which is tumah related. Getting involved with another man is considered like tumah. Another teretz we have Abaye. Amar Abaye. Abaye Amar Boyel Makar Boy. It's not inherently unknown. The stranger that was involved with this woman, he knows what happened. Rabba Amar Saita Ki Masya Lavar Avin Ka'asya. Rabba answers, look, again, it's not to atone, it's to determine what happened. Lavar Avin. Mincha will help determine, clarify the facts. So again, it's unrelated to kapara and will not be covered by Yom Kippur. Next question. So they discover this victim on the road. They bring the calf, Egla Rufa. He's coming to address a suffix. And if it's past Yom Kippur, they should be exempt. Sha'avar Alayim Kippurim should become pater. Loi Teisi. There's a girsa the Kippur Alayim Kippurim. The Chesh Makar B'Elam Malkim, right? Amar Abai, Hari Makar. Well, the attacker knows, so it's not inherently unknown. Rava Amar, we have a special pasuk which preempts any other kapara. is the only way to address it. In which case, Yom Kippur cannot take care of it. So it's either we track down the murderer and punish him, or the Eglah Rufa. Rav Papa Amar, yet a third teretz. Amakro, look at the pasuk by Eglah Rufa. They conclude by calling out Kaper la'amcha Yisrael, Hashem, atone for your nation, and it continues with the words Asher Padisa Hashem, that you have redeemed. And we learn that it's referring back to our nation when they left Mitzrayim. Some say it's meant to atone for the Egel. Ru'uya kapara zu, this kapara is fitting. Shatachaper li'oit Mitzrayim, and those that left Mitzrayim as well. Now let's realize, from then till now, there were many Yom Kippurs. Clearly, Yom Kippur cannot atone, cannot address, cannot cover something which relates to Eglah Rufa. Okay, so basically, we learned from the pasuk, Hashem. Yom Kippur addresses chatoim that are lifnei Hashem. So in the case of Hashem Tali, since it's only lifnei Hashem, it's something unknown to man, Yom Kippur takes care of it. But achatas and Hashem Vadai, which you are fully aware of, that cannot be addressed by Yom Kippur. Says the Gemara, Hashta the Amrs, now that you've established that if it's a chait, shein makir b'elam okim, something only before Hashem, Yom Kippurim is mechaper. So now comes an obvious question. A fellow is not sure. Did I eat chaylev? Did I not? So he brings an Hashem Tali. What happens if instead of bringing the Hashem Tali, he went through Yom Kippur? It's done and over with, right? Yom Kippur takes care of it. So perhaps, even if later on he confirms that he ate the chaylev, he discovered the facts, turns out that he ate the chaylev, perhaps it's done and over with. Yom Kippur took care of it. Because, look, when Yom Kippur was here, it was eligible for Yom Kippur's kapara. So it's cleansed off the record. Ema, perhaps we can suggest, even if he discovers the facts, he confirms that he did the chet after Bas Yom Kippurim, you should not bring a chatos. It's too late, it's over. Omar b'zira, le'matzas amrs. You can't say that. D'chsiv, kra, yediyah. You find an interesting repetition in the Torah. The Torah regarding Chiyav Chatas mentions Yediyah. He becomes aware of the Chet, he connects to it, intellectually, becomes aware of it, and that triggers the Chiyav Chatas. Now it says it 3 times. Why 3 times? It says it by the Yachid, by the private person, it says it by the Nasi, the king, it says it by the Tzibur, the public, over and over again. The same point. What's the repetition about? Oh, it's an extra pasuk to teach us that even in this instance, it was an unknown before Yom Kippur. He went through Yom Kippur, now he discovered the fact. He still has to bring. As soon as he becomes aware, as soon as he has the idea, he must bring a chatas. The Siv Krog Yediyah, the Torah mentions the concept of Yediyah once and again. Gabi chatas, by the personal chatas of a yachid. Gabi nasi, by the king. Gabi tzibur. Says the Gemara, what do you mean? There's nothing extra trichi. We need all 3. You can't learn one from the other. Each one is its own track. So there's nothing extra. Because of Kraf, the pasuk would only say it Gabi Yachad by the individual. I would say, yeah, he needs to have yediyah. He needs to have awareness in order to trigger the chatas. Kulan miyachid lo yason. You can't have the king and the tzibur learn from the yachid. That yediyah is required to trigger the chatas. He can challenge that correlation. Yachid is unique in a sense that it is a limited scope. The carbon chatas that it brings will always be at a keva. So to begin with, it's a limited scope. So perhaps that explains why he has this precondition that he has to be fully aware of the chet before he brings a chatas. But let's say the nasi where sometimes he brings a zachar, or the tzibur as well. They always bring a zachar. So perhaps over there we should be machmer that you have to bring the chatas even when had a definite cognizance. Bottom line, you can't learn one from the other. Okay, so that option doesn't work. Nichtav gabi nasi. Let it just say yediyah by the nasi. V'nesi hanach minasi. Learn the yachad and the tzibur from the nasi. No, you can't. Yachad nasi. The yachad can't learn from the nasi. The we could ask, mal nasi shkein emish mias koil. A nasi is a limited entity in terms of liability. He's not chai for shmias koil if he swore falsely, turned down the offer to testify with an oath. It doesn't apply to him because he's not somebody that testifies in the bezdin, a king, right? So he's not into that, and perhaps that's why he has a more limited chatas type of capability. He needs the idea beforehand, but a yachid who's a broader liability. Don't have a yachid shekein yesh mishmias kol, yesh mias kol on his repertoire. But tzibur minasi leyas, yes, same thing with the tzibur. They can't learn from the nasi. We can ask mal nasi shekein b'karban nekeva. A nasi has an option to bring in a nekeva. By the zara, if a nasi sinned, the zara brings in a nekeva. Tzibur never brings in a nekeva, so maybe they're more machmer and they'll bring a chatas even out. Yediyah vadois, that absolute confirmation that they sinned. So that option is out. Third option, nichtav gabi tzibur. Let it say it only by tzibur. V'neis yochid v'nosi v'no learned in the yochid nosi from the tzibur. Once again, you can't do that. We can respond to that. Mal tzibur shekein en chayav nela al helam davim shigas ma'asel tzibur. Has a very distinct process. We learned the whole Masechet Hurries about it, right? The bezdin had to issue an erroneous ruling, and that misled the crowd. Very specific type of liabilities. Maybe that's why they had this precondition that they need to have yediyah before the chatas is activated. But the other people, the yachad and the nasi, don't have that limitation. Hence, they don't have that requirement for yediyah. Okay, so all three options are out. Mechada the yediyah liasyu. You're right. You can't learn the other two from one. But still, why repeat it 3 times? Let it say it twice. We'll make sort of a common denominator and learn the third one from these two. Let's go to the 3 options. Leave the yediyah out by the yachid. Learn the yachid from the nasi v'tzibur. That could be challenged again. Nasi v'tzibur. Shekein einan b'shmias koil. Nasi and tzibur are more lenient. They don't have shmias koil. Tami v'yachid sheyosh mishmias koil as opposed to yachid which has shmias koil. Okay, that option is out. Leave out the idea of the tzibur, but taste the idea of the nasi, and learn the tzibur from the yachid nasi. Once again, that can be challenged as follows: Mal yachid nasi, shekein yesh b'kavar nekeva. There is an element of a nekeva by the chatas of the yachid and the nasi. A yachid is always a nekeva, and the nasi by the zara. The tzibur doesn't have that. Shem kavar nekeva, they'll have nekeva, so it's different. Next option, lo nichtav gabi nasi. Leave out the yediyah requirement by the nasi and learn it from the other two, from the yachid and the tzibur. Teisim yediyah the yachid and tzibur. To my parchas, how could you challenge this one? Imishum de'enim l'shmias hakoil. Well, you can say the tzibur. Well, they're different. Shmias hakoil doesn't apply to them. They're not eligible to testify in court. Ve'enim chayavin elal helm davar v'chulu, and they only have to bring a chatas if they were misled by the erroneous ruling of the court, which sets them apart from the nasi, which doesn't have this erroneous ruling requirement, right? And the point of Shmias Koil, although in general, a nasi is not meant to testify in court, but in some instances, for instance, if another king wants him to come help him in court, he's meant to do so. So it theoretically does apply to him. So that sets him apart from the tzibur. Yachad Yechiach. We'll take a look at the other element of the equation. We pair together the Yachad and the tzibur as one equation. The Yachad will undo that argument because the Yachad doesn't have these points. Firstly, the Yesh Nabi Shmias HaKoil is fully into Shmias HaKoil. He's obligated to go testify, and he doesn't have that other erroneous ruling requirement. So apparently those aren't the causes here. These aren't the factors at play. Well, taking a look at the Yachad, you find something unique there. All his kabar is chatas on the keva, as opposed to the nasi, which is generally a zachar, so maybe it's different. Well, for that, we can counter by looking at the tzibur, which is again is the other part of this equation. Tzibur yechiach, they don't kabar in the keva, they don't have the keva chatos, and still va'adis lo yediyah lo mechayev. They're only chayav to bring a chatas if they have absolute awareness of their sin. So again, if we pair together Yachid and Tzibur, we come up with this common denominator, which can't be attributed to these causes because what one has, the other one doesn't. So apparently, it's a fair source and can be applied to Nasi as well. So that begs the question: why repeat the Yediyah requirement by the Nasi? It seems to be extra. Lamali t'chsiv Yediyah gabi Nasi. So we have this rule throughout Shas: when it's not needed for its own sake, we look for an address. We look to apply it elsewhere. If it's not needed for its own sake, because the Yediyah requirement by a standard chatas by the Nasi is already learned from the Yachid and the Tzibur, as we explained. So it's unnecessary to say it. To say that the Yediyah triggers the chatas by the Nasi, so apply it to where we need it, which is our sugya, in a case where he was uncertain, he was unsure, going into Yom Kippur, and after Yom Kippur he discovered that in fact he sinned, to teach us that even in this case, the Maisi he'll bring a chatas. Abaye Omar. He says, no, you can't use this source. Either like Siv, Yediyah gabi Nasi. Had the Torah not written Yediyah by the Nasi, don't say it's extra, because if it's not written, you wouldn't know it. You can't learn from the Yachid and Tzibur as a combined source. Why? Because they have a commonality, which is not found by the Nasi. So perhaps that sets them apart, makes them unique. You could challenge this equation. There's no change there, there's no transformations there. Their din never changes. A Yachid remains Yachid, a Tzibur remains Tzibur with their halachis, as opposed to a Nasi, which sometimes can undergo a change. Taimar, we turn to Talmud ben Nasi, Shasal Ishtamis. Rashi explains. If he is deposed from his position, then he becomes like a regular ordinary citizen. Regarding the Karban Chatas, he'll bring in a Keva. So now he's bringing a Zach, but in 5 minutes' time you can vote it out. So it's sort of a fluid situation, something unique, perhaps. You can't learn the halacha by the Nasi from the others. So back to the questions. How do we know, in fact, that if one discovers a chet after Yom Kippur, he'll bring the chatas? He was unsure going into Yom Kippur. At this point, he's just a suffix. Yom Kippur addresses it, right? So perhaps it's fully gone. It's taken care of. It's from here. Look, we already know that these three, the Yachid and the Nasi and the Tzibur, will have to share information. By way of KEREISOS, it says mitzvahs all over. Regarding other matters, discussed in Maseches KEREISOS. Once we have an established KEREISOS, which inevitably shares their information one with another, once they're learning from each other, why can't they share this information as well? That a chatas must be preceded by absolute, confirmed knowledge. The Yediyah factor. So why then? Repeat it once and again. Gabi Yachid, Gabi Nasi, Gabi Tzibur. If it's not needed for here, we'll apply it there. If it's not needed for their own sake, they'll learn mitzvahs, because they have shared their information through the KEREISOS. Apply it to our story. In a case where a person was uncertain, going to Yom Kippur, he experienced Yom Kippur, then he found out what happened, to tell us who the Maisi Chatas, he's still good for a Chatas. Okay, so again the question was, here we say, you have a suffix, although you meant to bring an Asham Tali, but if instead you just experience Yom Kippur, it takes care of it. However, if after Yom Kippur he discovered the actual fact that he sinned, he still must bring a Chatas. Now let's say he had a suffix and he brought an Asham Tali. After the fact, he discovers that in fact, he really sinned. What happens there? The halacha is, he must still bring a chatas, and the question is why. Perhaps we can argue as follows. A new question. I understand. In the first case, he had a suffix. He only discovered, he confirmed only after Yom Kippur. He must bring a chatas, despite the fact that he went through Yom Kippur. You know why? Mishum Yom Kippurim, because Yom Kippur, the great Yom Kippur, which addresses and atones for many sins, but it's not specifically tailored for this sin. So you can understand that it leaves it somewhat hanging. Yom Kippurim lav al hadein chet ka'as. It's not coming specifically for this sin. Aval Hashem Tali, but if a person had a suffix, and he brought Hashem Tali, specifically to address his uncertainty, so perhaps it's done and over with. So it's absolved. So what that I find out later, right, that there was a real chet? Why bring a new carbon? Aval Hashem Tali, the al hadein chet ka'as, Hashem Tali, which is specifically brought to address this suffix, this chet, this possible sin. Ema, perhaps you can argue, the kapara should address even if he discovers and confirms his sin later. If he discovers his sin after he already brought Hashem Tali, it's over. Who says he has to bring a chatas? Omar Rav Amakor, the pasuk says, by the pasuk of chatas, Oyod. In all situations, any discovery, any confirmation, even if it's post Hashem Tali, he'll still bring the chatas. No. So now comes the obvious question. Now that you've established, you've told me, that even if you have a suffix, and you're going into Yom Kippur, and then you discover the fact, you bring a chatas. So why bring Hashem Tali? Hashem Tali lamali. Lamaba. What's the point of Hashem Tali? Have Yom Kippur address it, and at worst case, he'll bring a chatas later. Amar Abzeir, Shemeis, let's say he passed away before Yom Kippur. This will ensure that Meis B'li that he died without sin because of the Hashem Tali. Maskav L'Rava, Meis, if he really dies, Misama Marekas, the pain of death, the experience, that cleanses him. Elamar Rava, Logan Logan Yisurim. It's meant to protect him from Yisurim, from retribution. It's a stopgap measure, a temporary hold on the consequence and the effects of his possible Aveira. So it puts a temporary hold until the Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur takes care of it as well. But ultimately, if he discovers what happened, and he confirms it as being a chet, he has to bring a chatas. Okay, so conclusion before we continue. Yom Kippur is machaper on many averos, including a suffix situation. However, if he discovers after Yom Kippur that in fact he sinned, he's still chayv chatas. And certainly it does not address or absolve a fellow who discovers that he really sinned. His chayv chatas and asham, of course. That carbon obligation is still outstanding even past Yom Kippur. How do we know? So we have a pasuk. Hashem, something which is only known to Hashem, i.e. a suffix, can be addressed by Yom Kippur, and we infer from there, but otherwise, if it's known to man, that will not be absolved through Yom Kippur. We had many questions, different cases of suffix. We explained why Yom Kippur will not address them. And we explained why he still has to bring a chatas, even after Yom Kippur took care of the suffix, but then he discovers that he was v'adei chat, he has to bring a chatas as well. We discovered the point of Hashem Tali is protect from Yisrael. HaTorah Chasa, Torah is concerned about it. Gufan Shel Yisrael, make sure they're safe and sound all throughout. Okay, now back to the Mishnah. Chatas Soif Abal HaSafik V'chul. So the Mishnah says a woman was unsure whether she had a leda. She brings a chatas Soif on account of that suffix. The Mishnah says, back on that that if it was discovered, we'll see in a minute what was discovered, but it happened after the malika, after they clipped off the head, so the part of the process has already begun. It was before Zrik, before the actual blood reaching the Mizbeach, so it was still mid-process. Noida was discovered, you bury the material. The Kohen don't eat it. The Gemara is assuming that we're speaking that we discovered that she did have a leda. She has the chiv of karva. And that's why Rab says, Amar Rab v'chiper. a kipra, that the bird fully addresses her status as machaper, even though the facts were only discovered after Malika. So you sort of switch tracks. It gets converted from a suffix to a vada. You relabel it as a vada, and she's done. Ask the Gemara if that's the case. I might cover. Why bury it? Just keep on going and let the Kahanim have it. It's a regular carbon. Because it wasn't being looked after. It wasn't being watched. Rashi explains, when it's neglected, there's a possibility of tumah. It's called the psul of Hesach Hadas, discussed back in Masechas Pesachim. So that's why, circumstantially, you have to bury it. So as the what do you mean? When? While alive, it doesn't become tumah. You just did Malika, and it was under the Kahanim's care. What do you mean it wasn't being watched? When was it out of care? Imei Kara. Initially, Chayav, he was alive. It's not Makabal Tumah alive. He will be after the Malika Kamintala. They're watching it. So that evidently is not the Pshat now Mishnah. Rather, our Mishnah is speaking that she discovered that she did not have a leda. That's not Rab's case. Rab's talking about a different case, as we're going to see in a minute. The Mishnah is talking that she brought the Chatas Oif just in case. It did Malika, and then it was discovered, the Rav determined that it was not considered halachically valid leda. And she doesn't have to bring a carbon. At this point, it turns out that it was really chulin, it wasn't even a carbon. Because it was only on account of that chance. Now it was discovered to be unneeded. It's chulin. Really, you can just enjoy it. Now, although chulin in the Azara would be asur, Rashi explains, only a shchita b'azara. Here it's a malika. I wouldn't forbid the bird. We might cover. So why bury it? Why does the Mishnah require burial? Midrabbanan, because midrabbanan it looks like a proper chatas oif that was brought on a suffix and processed properly. So just in case, for optics, we just we bury it. Less people think you can have anah from a chatas oif abal suffix. The chitma de Rav's statement that in fact the carbon is considered a successful carbon, a successful kapara, that's on a different story. That's in a case where it was discovered that in fact she needed it. That's a different Mishnah we had. A woman offered the chatas oif on account of that suffix. So now, if it's still pre-malika, confirmed as a ledis, sure. Go ahead, bring it as a regular chatas oif. Make it into a vada. Shemamin is the same type of bird. Shemamin, the same one that you bring when you don't know, you bring when you do know. So sure, relabel it. But let's say it was discovered to be needed after Malika. No loss. Amarav. Just keep on going. Relabel it as a vadai, and she's yaitze. Amarav mazadama. Sprinkle the blood. Maitzadama. Squeeze the blood. Basically, just proceed. Kipra. And the bird atones for her. It's a successful carbon. Mutaris bachil, and go eat it. It's a successful carbon. No concerns. Rabbi Yechon Amar no. Asur bachil. He disagrees. He says midrabban you shouldn't eat it, even though technically it's a kosher carbon. People might mistakenly misconstrue that even when it was not confirmed, it was a chatas oif coming on account of an uncertainty, you still eat it. That's untrue. Chatas oif you don't eat. And the reason is because here, you see, if it was still before Malika, no problem. But once the Malika happened in a state of uncertainty, people will regard it mistakenly as a chatas oif abal asaf. You won't realize that it was redirected, rerouted into a vada. They'll deem it a suffix and say, "Oh, you're eating a suffix," which is improper. Hence, the chum banned its consumption. So, Machlokes Rav and Rabbi Yechon is a nuance. Midrabbanan, are we concerned about somebody misunderstanding what's going on or not? So, let's just organize it again. We have three possible scenarios: before Malika, after Malika, before the blood was processed, and after the completion of the hakrava, the sprinkling of the blood, etc. If it's before Malika, it's the safest point. If turns out that she needs it, go ahead. Proceed. Turns out she doesn't need it, take it home. On the other hand, let's go to the other extreme. After Zrika was done, it was discovered that she needs it or doesn't need it. Either way, it was brought al safek. You need to bury it. It's not the mutar b'achila. Now, if it was discovered that she does need it, interesting. Teis Nachav Beis says she's yotzei. Doesn't have to bring another one. Our question relates to right in the middle, stage 2, after Malika, but before the completion of the Hazor. What happens then? It was discovered that she does not need it. Of course, he buried Asabrano. But let's say it turns out she needs it. Rab says, go ahead, use it, and eat it. Rabbi Yechon says, go ahead, you'll have kapara, but don't eat it because of this possible confusion. Tony Levi Kavasei, Rav. Levi presents a raya to Rav. It's okay to consume it. Right? After the Malika was discovered that she needs it, it's a kosher or carbon, eat it. It's not meant to be eaten. Before Malika was discovered she doesn't need it, take it home. Or sell it to somebody who needs it. Let's say before Malika was discovered that she does need it, sure, go ahead and use it. Process it like a regular carbon vaday. It's the same type of bird. Because the same bird that you bring what you don't know, you bring what you do know. So, may as well use the same bird. Well, let's say she discovered that she needed it after the Malika. Now, there's a shita here. There's a gerus that adds many words here. Maza, umatzadama, proceed with the hakrava, but don't eat it. That's hakrav yechon. Because people might view it as a chatas hevel safa. You're eating it. You shouldn't be eating it. The Brisa continues. Let's say you finished the whole process of hakrava, then you discovered that she was ayeledes asura bahano. So although it turns out that she needed it, you can't eat the carbon. Why? Because when you processed it, it was in a status of suffix. Initially it came for a suffix. It addressed the suffix. And it moved on. It's an expression. I mean to say that while you processed it, it was still in a state of suffix, so it has that status. Regarding the achila, you can't eat it. Says the Mishnah, Mafresh shtei slaim la'asham. So this fellow did me'ilah. He misused hegdish money or hegdish belongings for his own personal use. When a person commits me'ilah, it triggers a dual-pronged consequence, monetary and carbon. So the carbon is a asham me'ilah, meant to be worth at least 2 selah, as per the pasuk in the Torah, and also a monetary payment. The actual principal, the keren plus the chaimish, the fifth. The fifth here means a fifth of the total payment, so it's a quarter of the actual stolen money. Okay, so this fellow did me'ilah, and he set aside the right amount, shtei slaim, for the la'asham. He decided to buy 2 elam la'asham, although he only needs 1. So it happens, he was lucky, the value rose. If one of them was worth 2 slime, you could use that for the asham. You could have asham, and the second one is extra. Hasheni is considered moiser asham, which goes to the Nadava Pushka, the Beis Hamikdash. Hirashi, start let it wander until it gets a mum. You have it sold. The money goes on Nadava to be used for the oilos, the oilos tzibur. Next story. He's a double offender. He had money for the asham, and he misused that money. He used it to buy personal animals. Instead of using the 2 slime for an asham, he bought animals for personal use. So he committed another milah on that very same money. How much milah did he commit? It was 2 slime. He misused it. So the 2 slime, each cell is 4 zuz, so it's 8 zuz plus the 5th, so it's a total of 10 zuz that he has to repay. So what happens that he's lucky, the price shot up. Of the 2 animals, echad yavashtei slime, one is worth 2 slime, perfect, fit for the asham. Ve'echad yafasar zuz, the other one went even higher, 10 zuz, which corresponds to the monetary payment that he owes. So in this case, he's going to get away with a bargain deal. Because let's just organize things. The first milah triggered monetary obligation, but somehow that's out of the discussion here. Maybe he paid it already. That's not part of our discussion. Plus the asham that he has to bring. The repeat milah on that very same money triggered another double consequence: asham number 2 and monetary payment. So now he has two animals, one worth 2 selah, perfect for an asham, one worth 10 zuz, which corresponds to the monetary payment that he has to do. Because he took the 2 selah plus the 5th is 10 zuz. The one that's worth 2, Yukar Shamay. Now addressed the asham number 2. The second one is worth 10 zuz. Can address asham number 1. So bring it as an asham, and it'll also count as monetary repayment all in one. Because the fact is, Farshim explained, look, that money was earmarked to buy an asham, and he misused it, so now rebuy an asham with that money, and that's considered monetary repayment at the same time. Perfect. Next story. Echad asham, echad achulin. He used this money half and half. He bought 2 animals, one for an asham, so that's the proper manifestation of the designation of that money. And one for his own personal use. So happens to be, lucky him, that the asham is now worth 2 selah. Perfect. That will be considered asham number 1. The second one as asham number 2 for the new me'ilah. But it cannot be used as monetary repayment because it doesn't fit the exact amount. So he has to pay on top of that. He has to bring along with it a selah and a 5th, as per the amount of me'ilah that he committed the second time around. Okay, so again, let's just recap these last 2 cases. He had 2 selah meant for an asham, misused it. So if he bought 2 animals for personal use, so the me'ilah pertained to 2 selah, in which case the me'ilah and the chaimish would amount to 10 zuz. He takes 1 animal, which was worth 2 selah, applies it as asham number 2, the new asham. The second animal worth 10 can be applied as asham number 1, including the repayment all at the same time. So the word me'ilah, she'ein mil asay, we're going to have a little bit of a nuanced discussion in the Gemara. The terminologies seem to be a bit inconsistent. Look, the word me'ilah in that first case refers to what? She'ein mil asay. The second one, the me'ilah, goes towards repayment of that stolen money. If you look at the next case, the final case in the Mishnah, he bought 2 animals, one for asham, one for chulin. So asham happens to be worth $2. Fine, use it for the original intention of that money to address asham number 1. And the second animal, limilasai. Also doesn't mean as monetary repayment for stolen money. It just means can be applied as an asham, as asham number 2, because the Mishnah continues. He brings along the money. So the word me'ilah here means simply an asham me'ilah. A bit different than the meaning of me'ilah a line earlier, which meant as monetary repayment for the actual money. It says, what does the Mishnah mean in the first case? What is the milah towards the me'ilah? What does it mean? Towards the asham or towards the repayment of the stolen money? Ilayma el asham. Does the Mishnah mean that it's going to be considered the el asham, fulfillment of that carbon obligation? L'meimra de chaimish bahadi ayel maisilei. How could that be? Because it's worth 10 zuz, which includes the chaimish. The chaimish is not something you add onto the carbon, it's something you add onto the monetary payment. The pasuk says, so he repays the money that he took, and you add the 5th, as chamishi, so yosef olav. Almost, so apparently, you add the 5th to the payment of the stolen money, not to the asham. Furthermore, go to the next case, where we use the term me'ilah in a different context. Echad la'asham, echad achulin. So you bought 1 asham, 1 chulin. If the one that was bought for an asham is worth a full amount to slime, you can use it as the asham. V'hashen is the second one, and the Mishnah continues, and you have to add the full selah and the 5th. So clearly the chaimish is one package with the seller, with the payment. Alma, apparently chaimish, ba'dik zela ma'aseh, brings the chaimish with the actual stolen money. So chaimish must accompany the monetary payment, not the carbon. Ella milosei my dishani mihegdish. Oh, apparently the term mi'ila in the reisha in the first case is actually a reference to the repayment of that stolen money. And since he diverted how much? V'yeshne b'shtei slayim, or the shani b'shtei slayim. He diverted 2 slayim worth of money, right? The parshanut-torah-comment, which he had originally designated for the asham, he misused it. Well, look, what did he do with the money? Shnei, he bought up the 2 animals, l'chulin for himself. Therefore, it makes sense. The other shtei slayim, makrivlei ayil asham, the one that's worth 2 slayim, that's going to be applied as the ayil asham for this new offense, for asham number 2. V'yafas or a zuz, the one worth 10 zuz, yoivlei, the my desani mihekdish. That will be applied towards his repayment to the hegdish of what he took. Perfect. So it's considered repayment of the stolen money with the chaimish. And what does the Mishnah mean? When it says mi'ilah, so he's repaying the actual money. Within this animal, he's repaying the money. Fine, perfect. So it's all in one, like we explained. The repayment and the carbon go together. So how have you translated the term mi'ilah in the reisha? Gzeiloi, return of the stolen money. In Moseifa, but that's inconsistent with the Seifa, where it has the same term with a different connotation. It says echad asham echad chulin. He bought 2 animals. This time it was one for asham, one for chulin. The asham was worth 2 slime. You could have shamai. It's going to be applied as asham number 1. Vasheni lim'i lasai. Second animal is going to be considered his me'ilah. Now here it doesn't mean repayment of the money, because a second later it says he's got to pay on top of that. He has to pay the actual money. Almas, apparently the word me'ilah in this case, ayil asham. Just another way of referring to the carbon asham. It's going to be considered his asham me'ilah for round number 2, right? So the same term, reisha karlei limilosek zela, the reisha, we refer to the gzela with the term mi'ilah, and seifa, we turn to the next element, seifa karlei limilosek el asham, we refer to the el asham with the term mi'ilah. How is that? So the Gemara, it's all about context. Rashi explains we have to differentiate. I mean, there are 2 things going on together, so we have to give them each labels. So here it works to call it this, and here it works to call it that. Reisha d'havalei ayil dezavan keren v'chaim shel. In the reisha, where the ayil that he bought happens to correspond to the value of the actual stolen money, it's worth 10 zuz. So there, the appropriate term is mi'ilah. It's the repayment of the stolen money. Within, this animal contains all that value, and it's going to be repayment for the stolen money. Save, as opposed to the save in the next case, which is a slightly different case. Like havi ayil dezavan keren v'chaimish, the ayil that he bought does not have the full value. It doesn't correspond. It doesn't correspond to the value of the keren v'chaimish. So it cannot be considered. It cannot be deemed compensation for that stolen money. Rather, it's strictly the asham me'ilah. So in that case, you're right. The term me'ilah just means the asham me'ilah, and payment is on top of that. Look, we have to differentiate between the first animal, which is actually asham. This one's called me'ilah. Karlei ayil asham me'ilah. So we refer to the ayil asham as me'ilah. So Rashi says we have to differentiate. Right? We're trying to differentiate between the asham number 1, asham number 2, so we have to give them each their unique titles. And of course, in addition to that, so bottom line, a fellow had committed me'ilah, set aside some money, the right amount of money. So we have 3 cases in the Mishnah. The first case, the value of those animals spiked. He doesn't need to. One is worth a full amount. Fine, bring that one. And the other one is leftovers, directed to the pushkin, the Beis HaMikdash, where they bring the oilos when the Mizbeach is idle, right? Kaitza Mizbeach. Then we have 2 more cases, a bit more complex. In this case, he's a repeat offender. He actually misused that money for his own personal use. So he did a double me'ilah. That triggers a dual-pronged consequence. He has to bring another asham, and actual monetary repayment, which includes the keren and the chaimish. Let's go through the two cases. First case, he bought 2 animals for private use. So he basically did meal with a full piggy bank that he had set aside for the asham. So he did meal with 2 slime. So now he has to bring, aside from the asham number 1, he has to bring another asham number 2, plus repayment of 10 zuz, which is 2 slime, plus the 5th, right? So what happens? In this case, actually, it gets away with a package deal. He'll take the first animal, which was worth 2 sela, and apply it towards asham number 2. He's done with that. So what's still outstanding? Asham number 1 plus repayment. It's all wrapped into this new animal, which is worth a full amount corresponding to the stolen money. 10 zuz, perfect. So it's wrapped in the same thing. He pays back, and he gets the asham in the same package. In the last case, he took the 2 sela, bought 2 animals, one for an asham, one for chulin. The asham has to be with 2 sela. Inevitably, that has to be directed as asham number 1, because the money was earmarked for asham number 1. So he has to apply the asham number 1, and the second animal as korban asham number 2, plus he has to send in a check for the amount that he stole, the sela and the chaimish. Okay? All the best to you, and atzlacha rab.